everybody, it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations here, and we are going to get into an exclusive sneak peek video tutorial for my VIPs on Facebook, where my customers and downlines get to get together and talk about crafting, talk about all that crafty stuff. I'm finally gonna do a live video for you guys. It's been a while since the last one, but I'm really excited about this one, and I made this card that I'm gonna show you for my sister-in-law's birthday, which is today, and I actually, believe it or not, I sent a birthday card out on time. Or just period. I make cards not for a living, mostly for a hobby, but I still can't manage to get those cards out, and I feel awful. But I did manage to get this one out, and it turned out so great, and I can't wait to show you guys this awesome, awesome card. Yes, I look pale because of the lights. I have the brightest lights in the world, and they're doing me a favor because my makeup is kind of all rubbed off from the day. So I am just gonna go ahead and leave those lights where they are. I know I'm kind of like washed out like Casper the Ghost, but when I turn you around, you'll be able to see the project beautifully because it's going to be so bright. So these are the two stamp sets that I'm going to use in my card today. Now these are hostess only stamp sets, and the way that you can get your hands on these, number one, be a host for a party. Once your party reaches 150 in orders or more, you qualify to use your Stampin' rewards towards the host sets. These host sets are in the back of the annual catalog. The second way is don't have a party, just spend your own money, and if you reach that 150 goal, then you again will get those Stampin' rewards that you can use towards these little guys right here. So I got this and I thought to myself, you know what? I really like the origami, but what the heck am I gonna do with it? I had the hardest time trying to come up with something, some kind of a card. I searched Pinterest. There were only 3 things that popped up. So I'm like, okay, I have to fix this. So I made a card using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the stamps in this set. Can you believe that, you guys? I used 8 stamps from this set on 1 card. So I'm going to show you what we're doing with that. And then I also wanted to bring in the birthday theme. So I chose Happy Birthday from the Very Vintage set. Now, I haven't done a lot with this yet, but I love this look, and I really like all the different fonts that they give you in these different sentiments here. So I'm really excited to play with that more, but for today, we're just using the Happy Birthday. So the card that I'm going to show you was, like I said, a birthday card for my sister-in-law, but it's also a challenge for the Ink Stamp Share Blog Hop, which this month we were challenged to do a tic-tac-toe challenge. Now, if you don't know what that is, it is basically a tic-tac-toe board with different criteria in each square, and you have to connect the 3 to get a tic-tac-toe basically. And so that was the challenge for the blog hop, and I rolled it into this birthday card for my sister-in-law. So I'm really excited to show you guys how I did that. On the card that I made, you guys saw me post a sneak peek in this group, and it was yellow, but today we're going to be using Bermuda Bay because I just love this blue color, and I wanted to see how it looks with this card in this color. So I have a scrap piece of Whisper White. You don't need a lot, you just need enough to stamp 3 of these origami shapes, as well as 2 bunches of flowers. Now I've already stamped, colored, and cut out most of the things that I need, but I will show you a few stamping techniques that I've come across. We also have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 3 3/4 by 5. We have a Bermuda Bay piece of cardstock for our card mat. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then of course we have our standard card base that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and I have scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. So I'm going to start by giving that a crease with my bone folder, like so. Okay, so there's that done. I'm going to now bring in my Big Shot and my Stitched Shape Framelits dies. because we're going to cut out a square. So I'm taking the 2 middle-sized squares from the stitched shape framelits, and I'm going to layer them into the middle of this card mat. Now I'm using the middle of this because you will not see the big hole I'm about to cut once we get our card layered together. And it does save a little bit of cardstock so that I don't have to use a separate piece to cut out my frame. Okay, bringing these pieces back in. So let's get on with some stamping. I have my scrap piece of Whisper White. I have my larger piece of Whisper White here, and I'm going to use the solid star. You could use the heart too, which would be really cute, but I really do like the star. So I'm using the solid star to start. And I have my Bermuda Bay Classic Stampin' Pad. Now this is the old style Classic Stampin' Pad. They come much thinner and sleeker now, but it still works. It still has ink in it, although I do need to replace it soon. So I'm gonna pick that up and I'm just gonna stamp randomly, kind of in the right hand bottom corner, going out towards the edges. And it really just can be random. We're going to cover up a majority of the lower right hand corner here. So I just want a couple just to kind of be a little whimsical out that direction, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we're done with that. I'm gonna set this ink aside for a minute, bring in my scrap piece, and we're going to do our origami. So I have some Memento in the Tuxedo Black, and that's what I'm going to use to stamp the outline images. So on the origami stamps, there's 2 stamps per image. We have the outline image, and then we have the solid image. So I'm going to set the solid aside and use the outline first. And I'm going to stamp that in the Memento. Okay, boom, just like that. So now I'm going to swap these. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to put the solid on. I'm going to ink that up in my color, which is Bermuda Bay. And this part, I'm going to zoom you in as far as my camera will go, which I think is that far. So this part, the first time I tried stamping this guy, let me see if I can find, yeah, here we go. So the first time I tried stamping him, I was, where are we? Here we are. I was way off in my stamping. You can see how much I missed. So I was like, there has got to be a better way to line this up. What the heck? So I figured it out. On this block, you can see those lines right here on the wings. So what we're going to do is line those white lines up with the lines on here. So I'm going to do this and try to not get my head in the camera, but I'm trying to line up those white lines with the black lines of the stamp underneath. And then that is pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. There's a little bit of off center, but you know what? I'm not worried about that. It's pretty close to me. Okay, so we're gonna do that again with one of the smaller guys. So I've got the outline here. We're gonna stamp him. And I'm stamping them close together because I'm just going to be cutting them out. So they really don't need to be far apart. And then here's the solid. So we're gonna line those lines up. And again, it's kind of difficult for me because I don't want to put my head in the camera, and I'm looking at an angle. So I think, yeah, that is pretty darn close too. We're gonna do one more. And you can use any combination you'd like, but I really like the rule of 3. So I'm doing 3 origami pieces. So I've got 1 swan and then 2 of the cranes in the different sizes. There's so many different choices for the cranes. It's really nice that we have so many options in this set. Okay, so again, can you see that? I know there's a shadow now, but, so I'm lining up the white lines on the stamp with the black lines that I stamped on my paper. Boom. It's like, now that I know that, it stamps well every time, and I'm really excited about that. All right, so we've got those. The next thing to do are the flowers. So I've already, let me zoom you out before I forget and you can't see anything. There we go. So I have the flowers mounted here, and I don't think that I am gonna have, oh yeah, I'll have enough room on here. Just barely. I'm going to stamp those in, again, that Memento ink. And you're going to be fussy cutting these out as well. So keep that in mind. Beautiful. So I'm done with my Memento. I can put that away so it doesn't dry out. And we're going to do some coloring. So, oops, I have lots of coloring utensils here. I've got my Wink of Stella, a blender pen, and these do come in packs of 3. I have the Old Olive Stampin' Blends markers. You can get these individually or in a pack of the 2. And then I have the Stampin' Blends Color Lifter. Now, I just barely use this on this card, but if you're going to get the Stampin' Blends, I highly recommend you add the color lifter onto it. It really does a nice job of blending the colors together and lightening, and you know, you can play with lots of shades that way, which is really nice. So we're going to color in this flower here, and I have my Bermuda Bay ink pad. I'm just going to roll it back, and I've already squeezed it so that I have some ink on the lid there. So I'm going to take my blender pen, and we're going to color in those flowers. And I just kind of start with a dark center, and then I just drag the color out to the edge. I'm really not a fantastic person at coloring. I do try. I like to color. I just don't think that, I think that I do the best that I can, and I am totally fine with that. I really do like how some people can just blow everybody out of the water with their awesome skills. So I'm just going to color this in, and then I'm going to fussy cut this out. Now you do want 2 of these flowers, and I've already done 1, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do 2. But I did want to show you how I color it in and then how I cut it out. And can you believe it? I am so prepared that I already stamped and cut out my origami pieces. I know, right? Normally I like never ever do that. And I just fast forward through the video or make you guys sit here and watch the whole thing. But you don't have to do that this time. It's gonna be actually fairly quick. So to color in the leaves, since they're so small, I'm just gonna use the darker Old Olive, and I'm using the fine tip as opposed to the brush tip. So we're just gonna color in those leaves real quick, and then I'm gonna go back in with my color lifter to kind of lighten them up. So I'm just doing a real rough go at this. I'm not trying very hard, although I don't want to get outside the lines too much. Okay, so there's that, and then I'm gonna take the color lifter and the fine tip, and I'm just gonna kind of go, I don't know, it's not gonna show up on camera very well, but I'm just gonna lighten up just the tips of those leaves. And then I'm gonna go in with my Wink of Stella. And on the big flowers, I'm just doing the centers. And then on the small flowers and the little balls, I'm gonna do basically the whole thing. Just because, you know, we want that glitter. It's so pretty. All right, done with that. Set that aside, set these aside. So we will be cutting this out. So I'm gonna take my paper snips, and we're gonna cut this bad boy out. And to cut out, I like to cut around that main image first, and then I'll go back in
And you don't have to be super detailed. You don't have to be super close. Just, you know, however you like to cut it out. It is going to be on a white background, so you're not really going to see too much of a difference. You're not going to see that border too much. So you really don't have to get, although I do like a little bit of a white border. I think it does look nice in the places that you do see it. And this is real rough again. So we're just going to cut this out. Bloop, bloop. Oh, I got a little close there. It's okay. That's okay. We'll make it. All right. So there's that. And with the power of prepping, I have my other pieces all cut out and ready to go already. Yay. Love it. So now we're ready to start assembling. So I have these guys. Bring that in. Okay. Boom. So the first thing I want to do is take some snail. I'm going to adhere my background piece onto my card mat. We've got that nice, lovely little border there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take some dimensionals. Now I have my regular size and my minis. I'm going to put the minis on the back of this frame. We're just going to do the 4 corners. Taking the backing off. Okay. So that is going to go right there. All right, so now I'm going to use some dimensionals to pop up my flowers. Now I'm going to put the flowers going like this. Or do I want it to go this way? No, well, yeah, maybe actually. That's kind of cute. So I'm going to put them like that. So I'm going to put some dimensionals. I'm going to use a large. I'm just going to put it straight onto my paper. That way I can kind of play around with the placement a little easier rather than putting the dimensional right onto the back. This paper is weird because it picks up the background. There we go. I can play with my placement a little bit better if I am putting my dimensionals directly onto my background instead of on my stamps, my stamped images. Okay, so we're gonna put this one here and this one right there. And I'm okay with this little edge here because I'm gonna use a banner to cover it up. All right, so we've got that. So bringing in the crane, and I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to attempt to put 2 dimensionals stacked right here. And you can see that the leaves on this are going to touch that. That's fine. I'm just going to sandwich it in between my 2 dimensionals because I want that swan to pop up above everything else. We're going to play with the placement a little bit more. He's more centered than he is in my first sample. Centered and up higher. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our little crane guys. And I can use a large dimensional on him, but I'm going to use a small on the other guy. Take those backings off. I'm going to put the large here, trying to stay in the realm of sizing, so like largest in the front, then a little smaller, and then smaller in the back, so it kind of gives you some depth. Is that the right word? There's a word I'm looking for. I'm not sure if I got it, but it's close. All right, so I have here some of the gorgeous polka dot tulle ribbon, and what I did was I inked it up with my Bermuda Bay. So I took a sponge and I just put it onto my ink pad, and then I just inked it down so that it kind of tinted the ribbon a little bit. I'm going to take my ribbon snips. Yes, I have 2 different pairs of snips, one for ribbon, one for paper. I'm going to snip that off, and then I'm going to, I want a banner cut. I think I want to do banner cut, so I'm going to fold it in half. And my fold is on this edge right here. So I'm going to banner cut up like this, and that gives us that banner cut edge. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's got a banner cut edge there. Now this one doesn't, so I have to cut this again at the end. So I'm cutting from the open end down at an angle to the folded edge. There we go. So there's another banner cut. So I'm going to pop those guys under my flowers, and I'm going to tack them down. I'm actually going to trim that off a little bit more. I'm going to tack them down with some glue dots in a little bit. So I just want barely a little bit peeking out. And this was one of the tic-tac-toe squares that I had to complete on my challenge, was ribbon. That's what it was. I think I forgot for a sec, but I remembered. So there we go. I'll tack those down in a minute. We also have some basic adhesive back sequins, and there's lots of different shades in here. I love how metallic and shiny all of these are. I think that's too green. That one's not white enough. I've really been digging on these white guys here, so I'm going to use some more of those. So I have my take your pick tool here that I'm using to pick up those sequins, and I'm just going to scatter a few, probably 3, because that's just the number I like, around here. And then the last one I want to get on the frame, but I also don't want to cover up that corner because I'm going to be using that corner in a little bit for my banner. So I'm just going to put that up there, and I think that'll work. All right. So speaking of banners, I almost forgot about that guy. We have to stamp that. So again, from Very Vintage, I have the words Happy Birthday. So I'm gonna put those onto a block. And with some scrap Whisper White. This piece is probably, what, a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch? I think it's a 1/4 of an inch. Oh, it is a 1/2 inch. Okay, so a 1/2 inch wide by however long your sentiment is. And I'm just going to do a banner cut on both ends of it. So I'm going to stamp it a little in from the edge. Yay. Okay, and then grab my paper snips. And to do my banner cuts on these, I like to cut in from the middle first, and then I cut up and towards that middle line. There's one end. So I'm going to cut straight up, and then in from the corners. And there's the banner. I'm going to pop that up right about there. Now see how white it is? It's going to cover up all my pretty flowers. So I am going to trim it down probably to about that 1/4 of an inch. Maybe 3/8, somewhere in that vicinity. There. That's better, much better. All right, so let's grab some of our mini dimensionals. And I want to see if I'm going to need 1 or if I'm going to need 2. So if I put him kind of along these lines here, like right at the bottom of the swan maybe, I'm going to put a dimensional over here and over here. I'm going to move it just up so I kind of know where I'm sticking them. I'm going to put a dimensional right there. And then the other one is going to go right about here. And we'll set this down on top just like this. All right, you guys, it's coming together. Last thing to do is just pop this up on the back, and then we're just popping it up. And I love to do this kind of same color on the same color card base, and then when you pop it up, it just kind of gives it that extra layer of dimension. And there it is. What do you guys think? Oh, I love it. I love how it turned out. Love it. And I really am enjoying this in that Bermuda Bay color. The other one I did was kind of a mixture between Pineapple Punch and Daffodil Delight. So this one was done in all Bermuda Bay, and I just think that it's really nice.